G'day and welcome to A Down Under Yarn. I am your host Fiona, also known as Fifykins. If you find someone on the internet called Fifykins, it is probably me. Today is Thursday. It is the 6th of February. It's about 3:45 in the afternoon. I've just got home from picking up the kids from school. As I said, I'm your host Fiona. I'm also the dyer behind Flair Fibres, and this is episode number 58 of A Down Under Yarn. It's hard to believe I've been going for so long now. Welcome to new viewers. Welcome back to those who are returning to spend some time with me yet again. I am not facing out towards the garden today because it's just waterlogged. The lighting here is not so bad where I'm sitting at the moment. I'm sorry about last week's lighting. It was really shoddy, but I'm sorry. I'm a lot better than I was last week. Thank you to everyone who's been asking how I am. I've still got a bit of a residual cough and I do get short of breath at times, so I'll wait and see how I am over the weekend and may need to go back to the doctor again next week. But hey, luckily the cyclone didn't hit us. We've had 3 cyclones off the coast of Queensland in the last week and a bit. Fortunately, none have really come near here, but they have been part of a huge monsoonal trough, which means we haven't had a fine day now for bugger off fly. We haven't had a fine day for almost 3 weeks, which is quite depressing for me, seeing I use the sun to dye my yarn. So I'll get to that when I get to shop update, which is a very brief section towards the end. So what else has happened this week? Kids have been back at school now for a bit over a week, and it seems to be going sort of okay. Jasper had a bad day yesterday, but I think you have bad days every so often. So I went in and saw a couple of his teachers this morning, and that went quite well. I broke my favourite pair of shoes, my only pair of shoes, which is very disappointing. Not that I really like shoes, so yeah. Apart from that, I've been trying to get myself better, trying to catch up on getting things out to people. I've still got one order I have to get out, and that's because I totally stuffed up the skein of yarn when I was reskeinin it. Got it in a huge tangle and spent 4.5 hours trying to detangle it, and in the end I had to admit defeat and cut a huge bit out in the middle. So, most of it's okay, apart from, a big bit that was tangled. So I'm going to turn it into mini skeins. So not all will be lost, except someone had purchased it. So I feel really bad about that. And I've sent them an email, and hopefully tomorrow we should have some just overcast weather with no showers. When it's overcast, I can dye, especially things like that, where I dye in boxes. I don't actually dye them in liquid. That on an overcast day will be fine. But if it's been like today again, where it's raining every 5 minutes, and of course the humidity is really high. Did you hear the Kookaburra? It's the Kookaburra. It's one of our Kookaburras nearby. Hopefully you did get to hear that. So yeah, so I spent a lot of late last week in bed. I was just coughing away. I'm sorry, I went to edit last week's episode and just thought, I'm just going to put it up. So I do apologise. It is what it is, and I do apologise. So, knitting-wise, I don't actually have a lot to show because I've been doing a test knit for someone, and that's coming along quite nicely. And I've been knitting something for my Loopy U swap partner, and I can't really show that on here. So those 2 things I've been working on quite a bit, but I can show you one thing that I also have been working on, and that is my Aranami shawl. Now, this is my longest whip. Excuse me, I'm leaning over the camera here because I've got it in a bag behind there. This is my longest whip, and it's been on the needles for almost 2 years. And once I've been working on it in the last week, I really do like doing it. I do enjoy it. I don't even mind weaving in the ends. So here we are. It is a modular shawl, and starts at the bottom and then moves up. The original uses the Jared Flood yarn, Brooklyn Tweed yarn in greys. I decided to do it like a sunrise or a sunset. which is hence the name in my project page, which will be in the show notes, which are available at fifykins.com. I try and put that now at the end of the podcast. Anyway, I finished all my fourth section things that I hadn't done. There were quite a few to do in there, and I've added 2 of the final section, which is the red. I think it's quite a nice transition. I'm really looking forward to it being finished. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the red to go across. Then there's a short row section that fills in the gaps type thing, because if you look at it like that, they want it to go in a straight line, so it doesn't go up like that. It sort of goes up halfway. I'm not quite sure how it's done. I've looked at the notes and just forgotten about it. I think I'm doing this on a 2.75mm needle, but I can't remember. It's in my project notes anyway. I got a smaller size than originally what was asked for. However, I quite like the structure this has, so that's why I didn't change it early on. Plus I was a very early knitter when I started, and I just used the needle that was requested, but I do quite like it. This yarn is Big Ann Designs, which is an Australian yarn, 100% merino 4-ply, fingering weight. I suppose it's really a heavy fingering, and yeah, really enjoying it. You do get enough apparently when you buy the yarn specified to knit the shawl again in reverse. Can't say I'm going to do that though. Whilst I am enjoying this now, I don't know if I could knit another 50, 100, however many it is, of these little motifs again. But I can break it up for sock yarn blankets and hexie puffs and things like that. So that is that. For the Ravelinics, I have joined Team Sasquatch, which is the team put together by a group of podcasters who didn't want to host their own team type thing. Seems like a lot of fun. I have changed my Ravatar. I've done all sorts of things. I'm donating prizes. And I've looked at the events. Team Sasquatch uses the original rules brought in by Stephanie Pearl McPhee when she originated the Knitting Olympics. And it and they are fairly, I suppose, not as regimented as some of the rules that I saw brought in for the last Ravelinics, and I quite like it. I am, however, I've had so many things that I was going to do. In the end, I've decided I'm going to do the whip dancing. And I have so many whips at the moment in my project page that I haven't hibernated, and I'd like to finish 5 of them throughout the Ravelinics, 17 days of the Ravelinics, starting on Saturday morning my time. So I am going to have a go at finishing 5 and also knitting a hat, because I quite like knitting hats. So 5, that does include one project, which is a baby vest, which I just have to do some I-cord around the armholes and sew on some buttons. So there's that one. I have my Aranami shawl. I have my Loopy U thing. I have my test knit. That's 4. And I've also got the Follow Your Arrow knit along, which I haven't done this week's clue, so I'm not showing it this week. So that's 5 there. And if I can't do those in the 17 days, you know, it's one every couple of days really, it should be possible. It should be possible. With a moderate amount of knitting, plus putting a hat in there as well. So that's what my plans are for the Ravelinics. Then I'll see next Summer Games, which is Brazil. I will see what I have time for then. I've had a stressful week as well with other things that are happening. If you're following me on Facebook, you'd have some idea. I'm Fiona Henderson on Facebook, if you wanted to add me at any stage. I keep it locked from the general public, but I don't mind having knitting friends in my Facebook feed. I think that is about all with current works in progress that I can show. So I do have other things, but they're sort of mysterious. Spinning, I haven't actually done any spinning this week. It's been so humid with the rain that we've had that everything is just so sticky, and even knitting at times feels really sticky. I've had a couple of nights where I've just sat out here and watched podcasts and just sat back and not had any yarn in my hands. One night I had to escape into the bedroom and put the air conditioning on, which I try not to do because it just got so hot. Anyway, I can now move then on to acquisitions, and I do have a few. The first thing is my amazing Pod Fibre t-shirt arrived. I am a founding contributor to Pod Fibre. Now, if you don't know about Pod Fibre is put together by, pardon me, Hippie Penguin and her lovely husband Dave. I'm sorry, I can't remember Dave's Ravelry name. Dave is designing a platform for hosting podcasts. Now, I know a lot of podcasts that have been distributed on iTunes through Blip. Blip is being funny, pardon me, and is changing its business model to exclude distribution through iTunes. It is what it is. I was never beautiful enough to get onto Blip in the first place, so I've always paid my own way to get onto iTunes. I go through my WordPress blog, but because of hosting fees here in Australia, I have my files for the podcast through Amazon. And Amazon, when I started, I was paying a varying amount per month, and it keeps going up because I keep getting more viewers, which is fantastic. Then I got an email back in December saying your 12-month introduction is almost up. From January, you'll be paying hosting fees as well. And my heart sank, and I thought, oh no, I've got, each podcast I put up there is usually, if I average it out at 250 megabytes, kilo mega giga, isn't it? Something like that, whatever it is. If I average it out at a quarter of a gig, it makes a gig a month, so that's 12 gig on there. And I thought, oh no, they're gonna slap me for that. Well, fortunately, I just got my bill for last month, and it was only slightly more than the previous month, which every month has been going up steadily because as viewers grow, which is fantastic. However, with Pod Fibre, it's going to be a service that is not going to cost as much. Now, I know Hilary and Dave are trying to get it so that it's free. I don't think you get anything in life for free, and I would be happy to pay a small amount to use that service. And that's why I supported it wasn't a Kickstarter, it was a Indiegogo campaign, and ordered a t-shirt and signed up as a founding member, and I'm going to be beta testing the site when it finally gets up and running. So really excited about that, and really excited to have that t-shirt. The other thing that arrived was my Into the World shipment. If you haven't got your January shipment, you might want to look away, but yeah. Hey, it got to me in 12 days. That's an almost record from the States. So anyway, I am in the Classic Club. Now, the Classic Club usually has straight animal fibres. Sometimes with a bit of nylon. So it's usually straight merino, straight BFL, Corriedale, Falkland, that sort of thing. Polworth, not usually with any silk thrown in. Once a year, they throw in a blend for the Classic Club that would be considered luxury, and this is the month. This is called the Cat's Pyjamas. It's the final, I believe, in the inspired by Tim Burton inspired colourways, which have been a lot of fun. And the Classic Club, it's 50, 25, 25 merino bamboo silk. I am really looking forward to spinning this. I'm pulling it out of the bag. Hopefully there wasn't too much rustle there, just so I can show you the amazing colours. And of course, having the silk and the bamboo through there, it's picked up colours in a totally different way. If I don't spin it, I'm thinking of just turning it into a pillow, because it is just beautiful. You can see, peeping through there, that aqua. It's just sublime. So this is from the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. I have to get back to my spin the bin, and I've decided that if I'm up to date with my spin the bin, which is I've spun that many. So Spin the Bin is in the Completely Twisted and Arbitrary group, where I'm spinning 12 bits of fibre. If I'm up to date for the month, I can throw something else on the wheel. That's my new rule. So once I get the current on the wheel done, then I will be able to put something else on there. Although, I'm about to show you my next lot of enabling. Anyone who watches the Kimberlolly's Giving Flower podcast, which I do recommend you have a look at because I really, really enjoy it. Kimberly is an expat American living in Germany, married a German chap, and they have 2 beautiful children who often feature on the podcast, which is a lot of fun to look at. Kimberly discovered a dyer called Nicole C. Mendez. Now, Nicole, who is a Ravelry friend and I VKN'd with as well, dyes. And Kimberly raves about her dyeing. And I thought, and I saw a couple of updates, and at first I said, it can't be right, it's really, really cheap. And she looked at it, and I think some pricing's been adjusted. And then I looked at it and I go, that's beautiful. And I've seen some of the stuff that Kimberlolly's knit up, and it's really nice. And then I saw an update a couple of weeks ago when I had some funds from a D-stash, and I thought, why not? So I got 2 skeins of sock yarn, self-striping. So, self-striping sock yarn is not really stash. It's an important part. This is the Ringel Sockenwoll. 395 metres, 100 grams, 75% wool, 25% nylon or polyamide. This is 4-ply, and it's number 44. Nicole does numbers. She says not usually does she repeat colourways, but this is a rainbow colourway that she has been playing with. I adore rainbows, so I'm really, really pleased to have got that. Then she also had the same colourway, but in the 6-ply sock wool, which is again 75-25 wool nylon, 390 metres for 150 grams. So it's more a sport weight. Now I am wanting to try the skew socks. They were a knitty pattern from a while back, and one of my good friends, Lisa from the Knit Two Together podcast, knit one, and she said it was going really. She's got a wide foot like me, and there's only one size for the skew socks, and she went up to a 3.75mm needle, which would be a size 3, I assume, because 2.5 is a 1.5mm needle. So I'm assuming that is a size 3. Anyway, she went up to that and she said it was great and it was fine. It got over her ankle, then just going up the leg, it just got really, really quite tight. So she said she was probably going to give away the pair she was knitting. I figure trying them in a sport weight with the bigger needles, I'll still use a 2.75, I'd say, for that, hopefully will work. If not, I give them to someone else. But then again, both my children have got feet that are bigger than mine now, so I've got the baby feet in the family, and I've got size 10 feet or European 41s, so I don't have small feet myself. Yay for knitting socks. And then, because when you're placing an order and it's coming from overseas, and especially if their shipping this is the price for the first item, all subsequent items shipped for free, it doesn't hurt to throw something else in. And I saw that Nicole has a Rolex. I've always wanted to spin with Rolex, and I got these. It's 100% superwash merino, and isn't it just beautiful? Mimmel saw them, thought they were dreadlocks. He said, "Oh, have you been making dreadlocks?" And I said no, and I was trying to explain to him how they were made, and yeah, anyway. So really, really pleased to have these, and I am going to try long draw spinning this year, and of course I will be using these. So they are just lovely as well. I'm trying not to get them squashed. It all came in a box with some Haribo gummy bears and some other beautiful German lollies, which were very, very nice. So I'm pretty sure that's all my enabling as well. I did have something that came from the Loopy U, and I'm now a member of the Loopy Thingo Club, whatever it is. So they sent me a skein of Malabrigo sock yarn, and it's actually inside. So I might show that next week. I won't show it now. I'm going to have a very brief shop update here. If you usually leave, I mean, you can leave, but it's really only going to be very, 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 very brief. So you might want to hang around. I don't have anything going up tomorrow. I had hoped to be able to get some dyeing done, but it just hasn't happened. And I do have some things that I've dyed up for the Zombie Apocalypse, and I thought I think I'll just leave it for this week. Love the Kookaburras. Anyway, so I have one spot left in the yarn club. Now I'll be taking that down early next week if it hasn't sold by then. So if you have been thinking about it, go for it. I'm about to send a message out to all current members of the yarn club explaining the weather situation and that I have not been able to get the first shipment out. So there will be a shipment now in February, March and April instead of January, February and March. And I do apologise for that. I suppose it's my lack of thinking because it is the wet season and it does rain in the wet season. And we do have these monsoons that blow through from time to time, and I'm just in the middle of one. However, I have decided that for the whole of February, anyone who places an order, and this includes people who did place an order in the last week, in the first week of February, they are going to get a set of stitch markers. Now, when I send out shipments, I always wrap them and always include a stitch marker on the ribbon, but you will also have inside your package a set of 5 stitch markers. Now I have these Millefiori glass beads that I've had for a while, and I've decided that I'm going to put 5 stitch markers. They're all different sizes and shapes, and there we go. This is just an example of them here. Trying to spread them out so that you can see them. There we go, sort of. That's got it. So there's an example of the stitch markers that everyone will get this month. If I drop them, they're going to drop down. So that I'll be putting that up on Etsy and letting people know that's what's happening. So I suppose a gift with purchase for the month of February. It does include 2 little heart-shaped ones, or 1 big heart shape and 1 little heart shape. If you want to consider February the month of hearts, I know some people do, some people don't. It's got a square, a circle, and a little oblong one as well. They're quite light. I've used them myself for stitch markers. They are quite light, and even these ones, which are quite large, I find good because they are substantial, but they're still light. So they will be going in with every order in February. I've still got 2 or 3 pages of things in the shop, so it's not like there's nothing there. There's still some winter rainbows in there. That's my other acquisition. I've got it sitting here, and it does relate to the shop as well. My skein winder arrived, and apparently has been nicknamed Winnie by the kids, as in windmill. So Winnie the Windmill. This is a double swift, which I'm using as a skein winder and using quite successfully, I might add. So I will be doing a video at some stage on reskeining yarn because it's something I get quite a few questions about. People ask why a yarn's reskeined, and I've seen comments sometimes when I've taken photos and put up yarns in the store, and the photo on the Etsy listing is of a reskeined yarn, and the yarn that goes out is not reskeined. People say it's got the same colours but it doesn't look anything like the photo, even after I've explained it to some people. So I thought I'd be able to show you the difference between an unreskeined and a reskeined yarn. This saves me so much time. Last night I was able to reskein, I think, 7 or 8 skeins of yarn in the time it would have taken me to do 2 by hand. So that's a considerable time saving. I got this from a chap in New Zealand called Woodya, W-O-O-D-Y-A, Woodya. I found him on Felt, which is a New Zealand version of Etsy. It has a lot of handmade things here. Let me put this down. Sorry, it's on, there you go. You can see there, and you can see the wires hanging down because it does have counters on either side. That's one option I went for. I ordered it in December and didn't get it till this week because he had trouble with some parts, and then New Zealand's the same as Australia. Everything closes between Christmas and New Year, and then the factory he was getting one of the parts from, when he got it, he said he wasn't happy with the quality, so he sent it back, and they were closed for an extra couple of weeks. So, you know, all sorts of things like that. But it's here now. Winnie is here. Winnie the Winder, Winnie the Windmill, as the kids have termed it. And yeah, really, really, really like it. There are some I know you can get from America, which are a lot more expensive than what I paid for this. I'll put a link up to his shop in New Zealand. I'm not sure with postage what it will be to other parts of the world. I know his postage to Australia was fairly reasonable for what it was. When it arrived, the ladies at the post office thought I was getting an electric guitar. Because of the way it was flat packed, and I had to assemble it. I said, "You're getting an electric guitar?" It felt like saying, if I was getting an electric guitar, do you think I'd be having it sent in a cardboard box like that? Anyway, so that is here as well. So that's very exciting to have this as well. And it speeds up things, and it's something the kids can do, even though they may not be quite happy about doing it at the moment. I think once I throw some money at them, they might consider doing it for me. So yeah. I think that's about it. Oh, no, it's not. This is why I'm hoping people have hung around. Probably before next week's update, hopefully when the weather changes, I will be putting a very special listing up on Etsy. I'll be promoting it through the Facebook page for Solar Flair Fibres, through Ravelry, and through all social media. We found out last week that our next door neighbour, who is 20, has terminal cancer. I'll put a link to their fundraising site and their Facebook site in the show notes. It's called Love for Leighton, and I will be doing a colourway called Love for Leighton, where a large chunk of the cost of the skein will be going to that family. They're 20 years old, lovely, lovely couple with an 18-month-old son, and Leighton has now come back to Cairns to spend his last time with his family, creating memories. It's just devastating. We had no idea, being next door neighbours. You know, lovely young couple. Occasionally I complained about their loud music at night and their parties, but I now think, well, hey, I'm glad they were able to have friends around and entertain and stuff like that. So I will be putting up pre-orders for that colourway and letting people know about it. If you're interested, you're interested. If you're not, that's fine. I totally understand, but it's just something I can do because I don't have the funds myself to contribute to their cause. So it's just something I can do. I will warn you though that it will be actual postage going on the listings. Usually with my postage, I put quite a bit of the postage is able to get incorporated into the cost of the yarn. I might take a hit, but I won't do that for this because the proceeds are going to the family and they wouldn't get a lot if I did that. So I'll have them all up in the listing. It will go up. It will be up before the podcast next week, I hope. Weather willing. I mean, I've looked at the weather forecast for the next 7 days and it says showers every day, but it says to lessening degrees. So I'm just hopeful that we're going to get one day. We did have half a day of sunshine last week when I could have died. I was just too sick. So I'm annoyed that I wasn't able to do that. I've got Ninja sitting just down here and she's been really, really good for the whole podcast, haven't you? You've been really good. Yes. So until next week, I'm going to say uru, cheers, bye.